Hey guys, welcome back. It is week number 2 in the month of December. We're talking about humility as a character trait. And as we have been saying all year long in this series, character is something that happens in the opposite situation. Humility is no exception. And to be humble, there is a little bit of a contradiction, as we saw last week, in the definition of humble, and that the dictionary tends to point to humble as being low life was an actual synonym used. And then we have the C.S. Lewis biblical definition of not thinking less of yourself, but thinking of yourself less. So it's the difference between, on one hand, unworthiness or feeling unworthy or looking at someone else as unworthy, or simply being confident in your skin, knowing who you are, and allowing somebody else to go first in a way to put them ahead of yourself. So this week we're going to talk about feedback and what that means in this character trait of humility. So think about when you give somebody else feedback. And oftentimes when we are giving other people feedback, it's because there's something that we need or that we want. And so our motive, there's a difference between a motive of helping somebody so that they stop doing what they're doing so that our day can be better, which is codependence, or there's the difference between giving somebody feedback in order to make them better for them. And in that sense, the care and concern taken with the feedback is to make them better and not worse, is to build them up and not tear them down, and is to help them move forward in a way that they can look at their mistake and own it and not feel ashamed by it, but essentially feel good about having that mistake pointed out to them so that they can grow and learn. Now this is really tricky. So I've been coaching a lot of people, and it's very difficult to give someone feedback when they are not doing their job, for instance, and it has an effect on a whole bunch of other people. Because you want to point out what they're doing that's causing an impact to everybody around them. But we want to do it in a way that doesn't make them feel so bad that they just want to retreat back into a corner and it makes the behavior worse. So it's very tricky. So it goes back towards the mindset, it goes back towards motive, and it's all about, are we looking at this person as an object or a pawn in our own story so that they will do what we need them to do. We need them to perform, we need them to hit their numbers, we need them to be nice to their coworkers. Maybe in our family situation, we need them to help out and clean around the house. We need them to get a job, go to school, whatever it is that we need them to do. Are we doing it because for our comfort and our satisfaction, or are we doing it so that they will grow and learn and be a better human being? So when we're giving feedback to other people in a humble way, we need to stop and check ourselves what our motive is. And if our motive is to help and grow and learn, we will approach them in a caring and compassionate way. And if our motive is to get them to do something, get them to change because it's affecting us, now that motive is self-centered and it's arrogant and it's prideful and it's certainly not humble, because we're not taking their needs and desires into consideration. We're not legitimizing their needs in a way that says their needs are as legitimate as mine. And so that's where we get into this problem, and we like to think that we're humble, but when we listen to the way that we talk to people and the way that we approach people, especially when we're giving feedback, it's a thermometer, it's a way to check ourselves to see our attitude and to see our motive towards this other person. Now, on the other hand, if somebody gives us feedback, now we have to check our heart and say, okay, what am I feeling and why am I reacting the way that I am? So if somebody gives me feedback and I'm angry for being, let's say, caught, or I'm embarrassed of this thing being pointed out, or it's something that I've been struggling with and somebody like hits a bullseye, right? And it's just like, oh my gosh, I feel humiliated, I feel ashamed. We need to take a look at how we are receiving that information. So if we're receiving it that way, as far as being humble or arrogant or ashamed or embarrassed, humiliated, angry, frustrated, any of those feelings that we are feeling, that is an indication of a lack of humility and an issue of pride. Because we all have things about us that we want to grow and that we need to fix, but we don't necessarily want people to point them out. And so, on the other hand, if people are pointing things out to us and we're taking it as, okay, I need to learn this, I need to understand what's going on, I need to do better, I need to grow, I need to learn, then we can take it in a posture of allowing that person to speak to us, allowing that person to guide us and direct us, and we can use it as a learning tool to grow and to move forward. But again, it's our motive. If our motive is to look good in front of other people, then we're probably not going to take that feedback. We're going to be mad that they're giving us this, advice. If we are not as concerned about pleasing other people and we really want to grow and we really want to learn, then this feedback is going to be uncomfortable, but we're going to take it as, I really need this in order to move forward. So our motive is either prideful, selfish, like I don't want to hear this, I don't need this person to tell me what to do, I don't want to listen to what they're saying. Or we can put ourselves in a posture of humility and say, okay, I can learn from anybody, all the way from the homeless person up to the I was going to say the President of the United States, but this is 2020, so maybe that's not a good example. Typically, from the homeless all the way up to someone in a really high position. We can learn from anybody. We can learn from anyone, good things or bad things, but we have to be in a humble position. We have to be in a state where we are able to be submissive in that particular situation and really take in and learn what they're saying. So when it comes to feedback and humility, ask yourself what your motive is when you're talking to other people, what the end game is, what you really want out of this conversation. And then on the flip side, if somebody gives you feedback, again, check your motive, check how you're feeling, and say, okay, what is it that is going on here? Am I prideful and I don't want to deal with this, or am I going to allow that that discomfort, and listen and move on and allow them to speak into my life? So that is your homework for this week, and we're going to resume this in week 3, so come back and I'll see you then.